Hello and welcome to another episode of the Photography Pubcast. This, Dave, by the way, is episode 13 of season 4. There are 5 of us here. Dave, Daz is
We're
here.
going to do this every week.
I
now,
am, until the end of this season, definitely.
Punishment.
Daz is here back this week. Still no Stu or Adam. And before anyone asks, yes, I did try to get Lynn on. Unfortunately, she was busy. So unfortunately, she couldn't make it. And she can make it on the day before or the Friday of the photography show. But I was like, well, I don't think we're going to do a podcast that day because no one's going to be about for the next 2 days, so it won't get edited or anything. So, and then she's not available till May. So I said, well, season 5, Lynn, season 5. We'll have you on season 5.
Have you noticed how international we are, though? Because we've got one podcast member south of the Antarctic Circle and one podcast member heading north of the Arctic Circle.
I know.
So we've gone global.
We have. We're that big now. We're that big. We're a multinational entity, as I like to call us. Before we go any further, I would really like to say thank you to Martin Goff-Jones, Robin Grant, F8 and B there, who's Phil, Robert Fallon and John Rigby for their very kind thanks last week. It was very much appreciated. John, what are you doing? You've already given us money to literally fund the whole of the bloody season on Riverside. You don't have to give us any more. And next time I see you, I'm going to buy you that back as a beer. Yes, so thanks very much for that, John. It's very much appreciated, and nothing was said prior to that that I haven't cut out. Yeah, thank you. It means a lot. It really does. It means a lot, and these guys will get none of it. So, are we doing How Are We this week? Has anyone got anything to report? If not, we'll just move straight on.
Well, it depends what you find interesting. I mean, I've been working at a nudist camp all week this week.
Have you?
Or whatever you guys want to talk about.
Well, let's talk about.
Hang on a minute.
Let's talk about that, Daz. What?
Is that why you had your hair cut? You shaved your body?
So yeah, I must admit, like I was told, a friend of mine, in fact, he used to work for me kind of a good few years ago, and now the roles have reversed. So he said, "Oh, could you come and give us a hand?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And he said, "I'll just let you know it's a nudist camp." I said, "Right, okay." So we're kind of building this big kind of timber structure, and it's really weird actually, because like everyone's fully clothed, and there's like a work party thing kind of going on, you know. So, but it's funny because I don't think there's anybody under the age of about 65. Kind of 65 up to, you know, perhaps 75, I think, you know. And there's been quite a few people there actually this week because they've been doing bits and pieces, but I've kind of got to know them and they're lovely people. They're really, really nice, but I'm just a bit terrified. You know, I don't know when like the nudity actually starts. I mean, I don't know if there's a certain day like in the month, or whether it's a certain temperature, or whether there's some sort of like factory whistle when it's like, whoa, cock's out, and I don't know. So I'm just kind of at the moment working away, kind of getting to know them. But as I say, I feel a little bit anxious. Put it that way, a little bit anxious. But they're a lovely group of people. Yeah, and I just hope that I don't try and get recruited.
What you think is actually like a, you know, like a cocking out time?
I think there could be. I think that's exactly what it could be. Yeah.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much. So thank you. I'm here all week. Oh wow. Okay. So what are they having done? Like hurdles and stuff? Are they building some hurdles?
Are they having a badminton court? They always play badminton, don't they?
Well,
so they can jiggle.
It's really funny actually, because when my friend kind of went to price the job, he did say, like, you know, because people that are not naturists, it's quite a weird experience. And he said, I was there in the kind of the function room with, you know, kind of, you know, going through the job, and there's a couple of guys like playing table tennis with their bollocks out. And he said, and he said, I'm trying not to stare. He said, but it's just the weirdest kind of. But honestly, they are just the most. They're lovely people. They really
So
are.
you talk about pricing the job. How much have you had to pay them?
How much had to pay them? No.
The bare minimum, Dave. The bare minimum.
He's got skinned.
Yeah.
Oh God, we could carry on all night on this
we could.
vein.
Oh, we could. Oh, that's a great start. That's a great start, Daz. Great start to the podcast. That's it. We can stop now. That's it. We could probably stop the season on that. That's it.
Yeah, listen, before we go any further, because I missed obviously last week, and I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but if not, I think someone put it in the comments. And because we was talking a couple of weeks ago about the Celebrity Death Club, and someone said something along the lines of, I bet no one had Steve Wright.
Yes, that's
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that Steve Wright, mate, I absolutely loved Steve Wright back in the day. I thought he was fantastic. I mean, I started work when I was 16. I had a bit of commuting to get to the job. So my days went from school hours of 9 till 3 or whatever it is, from 7 in the morning until about 7 at night. You know, I used to work from 8 till 6. And it was really long days. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, old Steve Wright used to pop up with Mr. Angry and all them kind of stuff. So I was really sad actually when he passed away, especially at 69, because he gave me a lot of laughs back in the day, Mr. Wright. So,
no age, is it? 69.
I'd like to raise a glass to him.
Yeah. Well, no one else is, but I mean, I would as well. Yeah, you know, but
because I think he was actually on Sunday mornings to start with. I'm sure when I was a teenager, like before I started work, I'm sure he was on he had a Sunday morning slot.
Yeah.
And then he went over to, I believe anyway, I could be wrong on that.
Used to the afternoons, didn't he? He was always Steve Wright in the afternoon, wasn't he?
Monday to Friday in the afternoons, but I'm sure he'd done something of a weekend as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for that, Daz. Thanks for your little update on your nudist and your eulogy to Steve Wright. It's much appreciated.
Okay.
If no one else has got anything to report on how their week's been, has anyone else got anything to report on how their week's been? No? Okay. All right, well, we'll move on to the comments because there's quite a few comments about swearing. And I think the consensus is that we're not going to put the swearing in. And I totally understand why.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I totally understand why, because you know, it's not something that you want other people to accidentally hear. So totally. And we do drop the odd F-bomb every now and again, but I will continue to cut them out. So if you guys could, bear that in mind and not, F and blind all over the place, that would be much appreciated. That's like an invitation.
You realise that Dave is going to completely ignore everything you just said in the last 20 seconds.
Yeah. More.
How come I've got the sweary badge? That seems slightly
I think you've
unfair.
earned it, Dave.
Yeah.
It's only because he leaves mine in. He cuts all yours out.
Yeah.
Makes me look bad.
I do. That's why I do it, Dave. It's just I'm trying to make you look bad. By the way, Dave, congratulations. You hit a milestone today, I hear.
I did, yeah. I was quite surprised, actually.
Yeah.
I don't check very often.
Do you want to tell people what it is?
So how much?
They know?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I hit the incredible number of 12,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's really good, mate.
150 of which actually tune in. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Tom Heaton wrote in to say he's a bit worried.
Did he?
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
I can imagine. Yeah. You're hot on his heels, aren't you? Come on.
So how much did that last batch cost you then, Dave? That tipped you over the 12,000?
Well, I got hold of our friend and said, what do you pay for 1,000 subs? And when he said how much, I said, that sounds like quite a good deal. So, it was just around 250 quid.
Oh,
nice.
Brilliant.
Bargain. Yeah.
Perfect. So we've also had a comment as well, guys, and I've got to find this one. I can't remember who wrote it. I'm going to have to hunt it down. I'll hunt it down while there's another topic on and tell you who it was. But they got a bit pissy with us saying the peaks for the Peak District, because it's not the Peak District doesn't come from the fact that there are peaks there. It comes from something else, like picked or something. It's like a bastardization of picked. So,
Alright.
so when you say the peaks, you're actually incorrect. So very sorry about that. We also had a comment from Paul W. Baker while we're, talking about we weren't talking about it a minute ago or anything offline. So I don't know why I'm going to said that. Not sure I can edit that bit back in. We've also had a comment from Paul W. Baker from the F7.1. Actually, look, we can say I cut it out for a minute because we were having a bit of a private chat. We were talking about the F7.1. And if you're watching F7.1 people, how about we do a massive podcast together, a one-off, if you fancy it. Get in touch. Call me, and we'll sort it out. Oh, by the way, Paul.
By the way, that was my idea. Thanks for the credit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That Dave said.
You cheeky bastard. Oh, you'll have to edit that out.
We could do it as a bonus between the end of this season and the beginning of the next season.
Yeah, that's
So
a good
have it
idea.
as a standalone kind of,
Yeah, that's a good idea. So if you fancy it,
What if we did it on location somewhere?
well,
could
that'd be
we?
shit, wouldn't it? How did you
God,
do
that'd
that?
be a nightmare.
We did all right in Glencoe. That worked well.
we did all right in
There'd be
Glencoe.
14 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it'd
we
be a
did
lot.
all right in Glencoe. Yeah.
The poor bastard who's got to edit it will have a difficult job, but the rest of it will be.
Yeah,
will be fine
but
for
think
you
of
lot.
all those camera angles you can play
Oh,
with.
yeah, brilliant.
Because there'll be about 10 cameras recording the whole thing.
Well, look, we'll talk. Get in touch and we'll talk. Anyway, the comment from Paul W. Baker, and he was actually saying about thanks for the mention of our podcast, as short as it was. What do you want us to do, mate? Do you want us to have should we have a half an hour discussion on how great the F7.1 is? We love you guys, but come on, seriously. I did watch the last one. Don't bother doing that for Gary Goff. He'll never call you because there's nothing in it for him. And I'm just being honest. So, yeah, well, it's true. Anyway, sue me. I haven't done anything controversial for a while, so I thought I'd just drop that one in.
You haven't. You've been very good.
I've been really good lately, and someone said to me on one of my videos, they put a comment in saying, "I've been with you through the highs and the lows and the moments of controversy," and I was like, "Ooh, moments of controversy." Haven't done that for a while, so yeah, keep an eye out on that.
You haven't had many highs either, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, it's just been a succession of lows, really, Dave. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, but he put that, and he said, "Surprised none of us chose Cornwall for our locations." So, Daz, where would you have chosen actually on that? There's a location anywhere in the UK.
Well,
You
it was
watched it,
very
so
similar actually to Owen, but I would have parked at a different location. For me, I would have parked at Manistee, because from there, I've been there, and you can go straight the way up the fell, and then once you get to the ridgeline, you can turn right, and that will take you to the fell that I've been up the most. It's just completely gone out of my mind over Keswick. How can I forget that fell? That's ridiculous. What is the
Cat Bells.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my
So
God,
you
you
go
get
straight
right.
out to mate. I've camped up there. I've been up there 4 times, and I had a complete blank then.
Yeah, and Gary's just driven past it looking for it and ended up
Yeah.
on the coast.
What a guess!
But,
Seriously.
or you can turn left and you can head up to Maidenmoor, and there's more fells beyond, kind of heading kind of that direction. But also you can walk to Borrowdale from there. You can walk to King's How. You can walk to the Great Woods, is a little bit too far away. But yeah, you can walk to King's How. You can walk to Castle Crag. And there's some lovely woodland around there as well. So that's where I would go. I would base myself at Manistee, because I think you've got the best of both worlds there.
You could walk to the pasty shop as well, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You can walk to it. We've walked all the way around the lake, actually. I think I don't know. I think about 10 miles. I think something like that. You can.
Walk to Stuart's Gallery and see it closed.
I did. Yeah.
No, yeah. Back to the comments. Amanda Dean said, "Great banter. Interesting to hear about the Peak District, because she's hoping to visit Padley Gorge next week, which will be this week. So I hope you've had a good time there. Hope you enjoyed it." What else have we got? Let's have a look. Just fill in while I do this. It's fine. Just have a conversation.
Are you cutting this bit out?
Oh, Keith Nisbet. No, I'll keep this bit in. Keith Nisbet, seriously, come on. What? He's back right down. So Keith Nisbet was backing me when you were having a go at me, Dave. And then I brought his name up, and then he said, I never expected my comment to be read out. To be clear, I love Mr. Griff and have been a subscriber to his channel for a long time. Wish you all the best. Come on. Seriously. Seriously, Keith. Seriously. Stick to your guns, Keith. Stick to your guns.
Thanks, Keith. You're an absolute gentleman and a scholar.
And we've now read his comment out 2 weeks running. Oh, dear. Anyway, there's loads more. Loads more. Thanks for all the comments. Loads more. Do you know why I haven't prepped anything? Because I had to do a last minute beer rush because I got ready to get on and went, oh my God, I've got no beer. So I had to pop down the co-op and get a beer and a pasty as well, which I've only half eaten, so that'll get munched while someone's having a long monologue about something interesting. So excuse me. Anyway, shall we move on to a topic? Shall we?
Shall we? The pasty.
Yeah. No, that was ages ago. So I'll tell you what. Let's talk about one that you mentioned, Daz, because we were going to discuss this last week, but because you weren't here, we've held it back, and you probably can't remember it. And
I do.
Oh, good. And it was about adverts.
Yeah.
So
right. Okay. So I don't want to kind of name the vlogger. I don't know whether that seems like I'm wussing out, but I don't want to name. Are you having a fucking laugh? Every week, right? You moan about someone eating, and you just shoved a whole pasty in your face. Look, that's how much he's shoved in. He can't even talk. I'm going to watch you now.
But the pasty isn't crunchy, is it? So it's not going to make a noise. So it'll be fine. No one will ever know. No one will ever know.
Okay.
Carry on.
And I very kindly muted my nuts.
Yeah.
Well done, Dave. You'll get a membership at that. You'll get a membership at that club that I'm working at.
I was going to say, did they do that at the nudist camp? Is that why you couldn't see them? Anyway, carry on. Yeah. Why won't you name who it is?
Because I very much respect that vlogger.
Well, listen, because I don't know who it is. So do that and name them like that, and I'll dub it out.
I'll tell you what, right? So don't worry about that. All right, you just munch on your pasty. Look, you've been to that nudist club, haven't you? Look at the way you've done that.
It's a pasty, not a sausage roll.
Right. Shall I start again?
Carry on.
So I watched this video the other day. It was about half an hour long. If I'm honest with you, there wasn't a great deal of content in this video, but I really like the photographer. Okay, he's done a lot for like photography on YouTube.
What was it about?
Wait, but there was your standard 2 adverts before the video started. And then over the 30 minutes, there was a further 2 ad breaks with 2 videos in. So that's 4 adverts that you couldn't skip. Then there was another 2 adverts, single adverts that time that you couldn't skip. He then kind of promoted his own book, and he also promoted a very popular website host. Now, I've got no problems with obviously people putting adverts or promoting stuff, but it was very, every time you started to get into the video, there was a break for something or another. And I thought this particular video, there wasn't a great deal going on. So it wasn't like an amazing kind of video. And I just thought, you know, I must admit, it spoilt the viewing. Now, I know I don't pay for YouTube, so I've got no right to kind of bitch and moan. but it was my thoughts on, do you kind of get if the adverts come too thick and fast, and it makes the video disjointed, do you get a bit kind of pissed off with that? Or am I being punished for not paying the 10 quid a month or whatever it is to have no adverts on the channel?
No, I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea of being forced to pay money. And that's what they're doing, isn't it? That's why most of the adverts now are not skippable. There's an awful lot now, because they're just trying to subtly get you to pay the money. But I don't know. I think because it's a 30-minute video, I think it would be legitimate to put an ad in the middle of that. I probably wouldn't. We don't here. But I think because it's a 30-minute video, 15 minutes ad, 15 minutes, I think that's probably okay. I think when you start going over one ad break per video, I don't know. I guess it's about the creator having to weigh up what's more important to them, the enjoyment of the viewer or the income that those ad breaks give you.
I'll tell you what's really interesting is that Dave announced earlier on that he's now achieved 12,000 subscribers and he's had an increase in non-purchased subs recently. Dave doesn't put any adverts. He's making a point in his videos of saying he's not sponsored, he's got no adverts. But the looks of it, Dave, you're still getting traction on YouTube, you're still getting seen, you're still getting views. So that's not harming you by the looks of it, is it? Which is quite interesting because, that's the reason we believe, or we're told, that we have adverts, because YouTube pushes the videos that have got adverts in it. But you've actually proven that you can still get success without adverts.
I think that's, I was quite surprised. I'll be honest. I didn't find that when I spent a few months not producing any videos, obviously things ground a bit. But when I'm putting a video out maybe once a fortnight, once every 10 days, something like that, for the most part, it seems to just carry ticking along. So that's quite an interesting point, and I had expected it to fall off a cliff. What's interesting, I full disclosure, I pay for YouTube, and I'm sort of the school that says there's no such thing as a free lunch, and you can argue about Google's profits all day long, but enjoying your free lunch there, Gary.
Yeah.
But I think that it's fundamentally unreasonable to expect to avail yourself of services and bitch about there being some monetization on those services when there is clearly a cost to provide them. So you have a choice, and my choice is to not watch adverts, but to pay. I have no idea what it cost me a month. I think it was 11 quid a month when I started it 3 or 4 years ago. Don't know what it cost me now. I haven't looked. My bookkeeper might have something to say about it if it was exorbitant, but I'll just tell her I'll cut her off if she says anything. But the lovely Mrs. G is my bookkeeper. But so I don't have the same problem as you, Daz, but I do think that there is an economic imperative that it's not reasonable to expect people to provide what is a service that a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of, and for the people that provide the platform to get nothing in return. And people bang on about, Elon Musk is charging you to have a blue verification badge on X.com. Well, if you don't want the badge, you put up with the adverts. But, you still use X.com. Don't think for 1 second that isn't costing somebody a heap of money to run.
Yeah, but they're making money out of it, aren't they?
Of course they're making a profit, but at the end of the day, why should they do it for free, or why should they do it at cost? I mean,
so hang on. So do you think YouTube placed them adverts on that video?
No,
not the creator.
Oh no, the creator has to accede to the adverts, and I think there's a balance to be struck. I think if you're going to allow YouTube to put mid-roll ads in, then it's a bit rich to also be plugging rectangular zone websites. And do you know what I mean? You've got to strike a balance, and I think it should be one or the other. If you're gonna plug something for which you're getting quite handsomely paid. I did a spell with Skillshare a few years ago until they cancelled the contract about 2/3 of the way through because they got absolutely nothing out of it. None of my viewers were remotely interested, but they paid me quite well. And so on those videos, it would have been a bit rich to also allow YouTube to pepper it with further adverts.
Yeah, because I think Stuart, sorry, Jay, but I think Stuart did a video, and I think it was about 22 minutes long, and he put an ad in the middle, and I think he got a comment saying about how it spoiled, the video, and that was just one mid-roll advert. But as I say, this was it was kind of like every 5 to 7 minutes there was a break.
There's a balance. There's a balance to be struck, but I do think that it is reasonable, because at the end of the day, the person sat there watching it has done absolutely nothing other than tune into YouTube to be entertained, and why they should expect to receive that entertainment completely free of charge is an indefensible position.
Yeah, but what my question was, at what point does it start to become detrimental? So it spoils the viewing. That was kind of almost my question.
I suppose that the person that puts the video up with too many adverts in will find from their analytics where that point is.
Yeah.
I must admit, I've found with my analytics, it's been substantially better. People will watch to the end, far higher numbers. And that may be why YouTube hasn't penalised me as much as expected.
It's worth saying, though, that the aforementioned person that you won't name of the video who it is, totally relies on that as an income stream for his business. And he's declared that is a significant contribution to his income as a business. So, that to him is work. He's creating that as part of his job, and he relies on that income as part of his income for the work he's put in. So I personally, for the person you were talking about, that doesn't bother me, because if you're going to watch his stuff and enjoy his stuff, then he's earning money on the back of it, and he wouldn't be able to do it, or he wouldn't choose to do it if he couldn't earn money on the back.
Yeah, and he puts out great content. Yeah, and that's why I don't want to start. I mean, everyone will probably know, but I still feel kind of guilty about saying X, Y, Z, but as I say, it just that particular, and it was the only one that I've ever watched, and I just thought, another ad, really? I don't know, because normally I'll sit there and I get really engrossed, and I can watch a 20-minute, 40-minute video from this guy because I really get engaged. But this particular, I just couldn't get engaged. It was just too many adverts, and it was too disjointed. But like what you're saying, Jack, I get that this is his main source of revenue. So,
what do you think, Sam?
So I think, I was going to sort of come in on that point as well with what Jamie was saying, because my personal view on it is, I don't think any of us enjoy watching the adverts, and we all find them a little bit irritating. But at the same time, I think it's entirely up to the person who's creating the video whether or not they want their video to be interrupted by adverts. And if they're happy with that, then great. But secondly, if it is their main source of income, then I think that it's completely understandable and they're fully justified in putting the adverts in. In terms of how many adverts are comfortable and how many start to become annoying, we all have our own personal feeling on that. I think one advert every sort of 15 minutes would be okay. But for those people who are earning money from their channel, if they want to put more adverts in, then that's absolutely fine. And I think that actually it can be telling of how good quality their channel and their content is, because I can think of numerous YouTubers who I'd quite happily watch their videos if they've got maybe 3 adverts in 15 minutes or so, because the content is good. So if they're producing good content, then they can, in a sense, get away with it, because their content is so good that people will sit through the 30 seconds ads to keep watching their videos. And that's exactly what I do. So it does become a little bit irritating, but at the same time, I enjoy watching their content, and I've not paid them for their content, and so I'm perfectly happy for them to throw a 30-second video advert my way, which I have to sit through, so that I can then enjoy the rest of their content. It doesn't bother me. It does sometimes.
I think you make a really good point. But what I think would help the situation from YouTube's perspective is to say, rather than some generic mid-roll ads, and they decide where they're going to interrupt the flow, is for the creator to be able to say, at some point between, say, 40 and 60% of the way through the video, this is where I would like the ads to appear, so that you can cater for it.
I thought you could do that, Dave. I mean, I've never used mid-roll ads, and I never would. But I, from what I understand, I think you can decide where they get put. And I've noticed for a lot of photography.
Can you?
Yeah, I think for a lot of photography videos, they quite
back.
often appear just when they're showing a photo, for example, which actually I find is quite an irritating thing, because you're looking forward to seeing the image when you've got to sit through 30 seconds of video. But so far as I'm aware, I think you can dictate to a certain extent where they appear.
But I mean, the thing with the sponsor messages, the rectangle zones, is of course the viewer has the opportunity to scrub through those.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think there's a lot to be said as well, though, about where the ad is. So, like you say, about choosing your own ads or choosing your own placement, it really bugs me when you're watching a video and it's like got 3 minutes in and there's an ad. And probably at that point, I'll switch it off. If it's a 15, even if it's a 15-minute video, if the advert's at 10 minutes and I've already invested those 10 minutes, I'm likely to sit through the ad and go, okay, fine, I'll put up with that. But it's when someone's like, hello and welcome to the Peak District, and I'm having a lovely time, and then there's an ad, and it's like, well, what, and that to me, that even if it's unintentional, it kind of screams like money. It's not thought through. So I would say, if you're putting an ad in, think about where you're going to put it, and put it in somewhere sensible within the video, and don't let YouTube choose it. Because if let's say you do a 15-minute video and you put 2 ads in, one's going to come in at about 5 minutes, and that's not long enough to invest in the video, in my opinion.
I'll be honest though, for me, I watch way more YouTube than any other Netflix, Amazon Prime. I don't watch any terrestrial at all. But my main source of video-based entertainment is YouTube, because of the extent of the selection on there, and that for the most part, I can choose if there's some sort of political bias or whatever. I choose what I do and don't watch. And for me, the price of, as I said earlier, I don't know what it costs, but I'm willing to bet that it's not much more than the price of one Starbucks a week. That I haven't watched a YouTube advert in several years, and I think it's money really well spent. It works for me.
I think that's I think we talked about this a little while ago, and I'm a little bit loath to pay. If YouTube said, this is it, YouTube is purely you have to pay a subscription now, I would. No two ways about it. But I've got the option at the moment. I don't have to, so I'm not going to, just because I do subscribe to Netflix. I have got Amazon Prime. And like Adobe, I have to pay now, where you used to be able to like buy Photoshop. Now you can't. It's a subscription. Kind of like 20 quid that I pay. And sometimes you can get carried away with, it's only a £5, it's only a 10. And before you know where you are, you've got 8 or 9 of these things running, and you're 100 quid a month, So I do try not to do it if I possibly can.
Yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure, you won't find any adverts, mid-roll adverts, on the Pubcast. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed those little brief messages from our sponsors. I found out who it was in the comments who said about the peaks. It was someone called Wig Wizzle, and I'll read it out. Actually, he said, "Please stop calling it the peaks, as it was started by towny idiots from London." I think he's talking about you, Daz. It's the Peak District, which takes its name from picked, not peak. Very annoying for those of us born and bred here. Also, Grindleford is correct, Jamie. We were correct, not Grindelwald. Otherwise, love the banter and some good photography from everyone. So thank you very much for that.
Have I ever heard it? If I ever heard it called the Peaks, I'm going to the Peaks. I've never said that. I've never even heard it called the Peaks. It's always been I've heard the Lakes, but never the Peaks. Always the Peak District.
I've called it the Peaks. So
oh, well, you're the towny idiot then.
Yeah,
you're the one that started all this.
Yeah, probably. And I'm sorry to go back to comments, but I did say I was going to scooch through some.
Yeah, go on,
John
mate.
Hitchin says, "I just wish I could grow my hair as long as Dave's. He looks so cool, and you've had it cut."
Yeah, but I took one look at myself while I was editing last week's video and realised I looked like Freddie Boswell.
Fred from Bread. Brilliant. And then we've had another one from Keith Pin 152. He said, "Hi guys, this is a great one. How do you watch the podcast in real time?" Well, Keith,
you will
don't.
never see the Pubcast in real time.
No, you don't, because
you wanted to do a live one, didn't you, guys? And I've always resisted that.
Yeah, I did want to do a live one.
Car crash.
Yeah, I did want to do a live one, but I still would love to do those, resurrect those ones where we have people on, but more organised. Because the first one we did was okay, but we didn't know there was people in the waiting room and they got bored and went because they couldn't see what was going on. And then the second one was 9 of us, and that was just carnage. So, but I'd love to have people come on and just ask us a question and join in a bit. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about another topic now. I feel really bad because someone posted this topic and I cannot find it, and I can't really remember what it was about. But the gist of it was
going well, then, isn't it?
No, the gist of it was about photography workshops, and would you be more inclined, Dave, you might be better with this because I think you read it as well, would you be more inclined to go on a photography workshop to a location where someone was based rather than have someone come into that location and run the photography workshop? Was it that?
Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, really. What do you think?
So if that was your comment, write in and let us know.
Yeah, please do, because I can't find it anywhere. I've looked on the last 3 podcasts and I can't find it.
I think it's important to go with someone who's familiar with the area. I really do, because if you've got different weather conditions, then you know that the person that's leading the workshop has got kind of different locations up his or her sleeve that can actually take you to. So I would definitely do that.
Also, they know the landscape more intimately, don't they? And they know the like you say, the places to go. But also, if you live somewhere, you're there. You might be there far more often than just running a workshop once or twice a year and visiting a couple of times. So I think it's really important, to be honest with you. So if there's anybody wants to come to Luton, to do a landscape photography workshop, just give me a shout because I'm your man. But yeah, I think so. I mean, look, you two, Sam and Dave. I mean, Sam, have you run any workshops, Sam?
Yeah, I've done a few. But I mean, I was going to come in. Sorry, Gary, had you finished or so?
Yeah.
Sorry. You can cut
There's
that.
There's a bit of a lag, isn't there?
There's always a lag.
There's a massive lag today. It seems to be really bad. So it's like if I ever pause, it's like, am I in? Is it me? Am I talking? Yeah.
Sam.
Anyway,
are you still with us, Sam?
I'm here.
Stop it.
I'm here. Yeah. I was going to come in. I was going to say you get different types of workshop, and I think it depends on what sort of workshop you're after, because as I see it, you have workshops where effectively what you're looking for is a tour guide, and for those kind of workshops, absolutely you want someone who's familiar with the area. But then a different sort of workshop is if you're going because you want to go with a particular photographer because you want to learn photography from them. So it might be that those two workshops are completely different things. It might be that what you really want is both, in which case you want to find someone who is based in a certain area whose photography is the sort of photography you want to learn as well. But yeah, so I mean, I've got good friends actually who run workshops, but they they do it more as a tour guide as opposed to photography workshops. And a lot of people who go on those sorts of workshops actually, they don't necessarily need the photography workshop. They already know what they're doing. They just want someone with local knowledge. They don't have a lot of time to scout out the area. They just want someone who'll show them where to go and point their camera, or not even just point their camera, but just take them to certain areas. And I think that in itself is maybe a separate thing from if you were going with someone whose photography you respected. So for example, I would consider going on a workshop potentially somewhere like the Antarctic or Svalbard or somewhere like that, and it wouldn't bother me going with someone who wasn't always based there if I was going with a photographer whose work I really appreciated, because I wouldn't expect to have a local guide in one of those places, whereas on other times all you really want is a tour guide.
That's actually a really, really good comment, really salient point there. I think a big part of it is, look, just because someone lives somewhere as well doesn't make them a good photographer. So you're much better off if you can find a good photographer whose work you respect and they live in the location that you want to go to, then happy days. But you're much better off going with a good photographer and someone who's good at teaching to somewhere that they don't live than going and spending, a couple of days with a bad photographer just because they live in that location.
Yeah, and actually that leads me on to another point, which I think is quite important, is that good photographers don't always make the best teachers. And you get some fantastic workshop leaders who might be fantastic teachers, which can in some ways make up, depending on what sort of workshop you're looking for, it might make up for maybe if it's not the sort of photography that you're interested in, but they as a teacher are worth paying for. Whereas sometimes there'll be someone whose photography you absolutely love and adore, but if they're not a good teacher and they don't have the teaching skills, there's going on a workshop with them will be disappointing.
Dave, what do you think about it?
I agree with everything Sam said. There isn't really much to add to all of that. One thing that is worth mentioning, though, is that I guess we're defaulting here to group workshops because if it's one-to-one tuition, it's a whole different ball game. But I'm aware of people, for example, muscling in on my patch, offering workshops around here, and I think no problem at all, because they're good photographers, and I totally understand why people would want to come here with them. So I think Sam's illustrated that really well. But I think what tends to happen with one-to-ones is they operate differently, because with a group you have to kind of convene at a certain point at a certain date and time to get kicked off. Whereas with a one-to-one person, you pick them up and then you're very much right. Let's see what the conditions are. Let's maximize those, because you're probably traveling somewhere with them in the same vehicle. But I think the problem with really good teachers whose photography isn't necessarily as engaging as others is actually selling their services in the first place, because it's difficult to sell yourself as I'm a really good teacher, and you might get some great reviews on Trustpilot or something, but the starting point is your photography, isn't it? Really, people see it and think that's what I might aspire to. So I can see how a good teacher would miss out unfairly, I might add, but only because they're not perhaps as engaging as other photographers who aren't quite such good teachers. I'd love to know, and I never will, because how do you find out empirically in an objective fashion? Because I've never taught in my life, and yet here I am doing regular group workshops and a lot of one-to-one tuition. I might be absolutely god awful. I don't get much repeat business, so I probably am.
Well, Dave, I can probably help, because I have some experience of your workshops, and I would say you're all right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cheers, mate.
Yeah, you're all right.
Not biased at all, are you?
Yeah, no, you're not bad. Yeah, you're all right. Yeah, the guy who helps you out, he's better, but you're all right. You're not too bad. Only joking. Jamie, what about you? What do you think?
No, I haven't really got a view on it, if I'm honest. I agree with what you guys.
So we'll move on to another.
No, you can. No. In all seriousness, I've everything you've said, I agree with. As Dad said it out in the out there, I wouldn't necessarily go to a workshop with somebody that that didn't live in the area or I didn't believe knew enough about it to give me that experience. So, I think to answer the original poster's question, I think it is important that somebody understands it.
So the obvious follow-up question then is, between the five of us, who's actually paid cold hard cash to another photographer for a workshop, and did we get anything out of it? Let's run round and see that.
Daz, then.
Yeah, I went out with Stuart.
You did as well,
last what?
Oh no, carry on. I was just sorry. Start that
I
bit
went out
again.
with
Is my delay affecting you guys now too?
Just start that bit again. I'm sorry, I just butted in for no reason. Sorry. Start that bit again. Pretend that I never said anything. Daz, what about you? You did.
Yeah, I went out with Stuart, and that's what made me say what I said about having a photographer that's in that kind of location. Not that me and Stuart had any kind of issues as such, but Stuart was kind of telling me, well, he shot this amazing woodland shot, but the place that he was going to in the morning with a client, the conditions just wasn't right for it. So they went to another location to suit the conditions, and Stuart did say, like, I've got to be a bit cheeky, I need to get my camera out, and he shot one photo, and that photo is absolutely incredible. But Stuart had the knowledge of, like, right, well, the weather conditions don't suit our original plan, but I know another location that will. So that's what made me think of it.
And you did, didn't you, Dave? Have you paid?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I it's going to sound tough. I paid Stuart as well, and for exactly the same reasons. It was
We love you,
for
Stuart.
the local knowledge. It was really well spent. There's no way that I would have got as much out of that day that I did without tagging along. And to be fair, Stuart said to me, "Are you sure?" He said, "It's a beginners group workshop. You're hardly a beginner." And I thought, well, some of my photography might suggest otherwise. But I went with my own objectives in mind, and they were fully met. And I wouldn't have any qualms at all about spending money with another photographer. I think if you get to the point where you think that somebody else can't teach you anything, you've got a fundamental problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I've said that, I think, from season one.
Yeah.
I really wish I should go on more workshops.
Didn't you go out with Nigel Danson at one point?
I went out with Nigel Danson in the very kind of early days, yeah.
Are you still working with those 7 tips? Are they still working?
See, that's the thing, okay? So that's the thing. I've always stayed quiet about, well, not quiet about Nigel Danson, but I don't know if you're even going to put this in, but I mean, I know he gets a lot of flack and all the rest of it, but I spent the day with him, and he was a lovely guy, really was a nice guy, so I can't say nothing bad about him because, not say, I know him personally, obviously I don't, I spent the day with him, but I thoroughly enjoyed his company.
Well, I don't know anyone who's got a bad thing to say about Nigel Danson. I don't know why you would think that anybody would.
I know somebody that spent a day with an extremely famous high-level photographer, landscape photographer. He's not on YouTube apart from where manufacturers send a film crew out with him to review their equipment. He's got his own gallery, household name amongst landscape photographers. And I was absolutely horrified. This guy described his day with this person, and I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. It was horrific. And I don't know how this guy sleeps at night.
Do you know what, Dave? I don't know if it's the same one or the other one of the two, because there's only 2 of them, really. No names mentioned. But I was at a camera club talk about 2 weeks ago, and there was this woman who went on a photo trip with them, like a tuition, like a residential, and she said that she showed a picture and she went, "Oh, do you like this picture?" And she said, "Well, it's not really my picture; it's so and so's picture." She said because all he did the whole time was he ferried us all off the minibus and just said, "Put your tripod there and take that shot." And he was just feeding them shots. So they weren't actually learning anything and they weren't taking their own images. They were just taking what he told them to take, which I found very interesting. And he's a very, very well-renowned household name landscape photographer, not on YouTube, but does appear on YouTube from time to time, but doesn't have his own channel, and a gallery owner, I believe. So
who are we talking about? Put your hand over your mouth.
Well, I'm talking about...
Ah, interesting.
And you're talking about...
I might be, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you was talking about...
This is going to make brilliant podcast. This is a topic, right? Terms that really winds you up in photography. I don't know if we've done this before. We probably have. We'll expand it to life, right? Terms that really wind you up in life, right? There's a photography term, and every time I see it, it makes me cringe. When someone takes a picture of a tree and goes, "The lonely tree." It's not a lonely tree. It doesn't have feelings. It's a tree. It could be a lone tree. It could be a tree that's on its own lone tree. Not lonely.
Trees do have feelings,
tree.
Gary.
No, they
do have feelings. They're very sensitive to us.
They don't get lonely though. They don't sit around. Not the lone tree at Limpodan doesn't think, "Oh, I wish I had a mate." Oh, so sad and lonely here all on my own.
No,
Lonely
it does.
tree.
It stands there thinking, "I wish these bastards could pronounce the name of the lake properly." That's what it's thinking.
In Welsh. It's thinking it in Welsh. Oh, yeah, they do. I don't even know why I was going to say that. That was a ridiculous thing to think. I was going to say, do people think things in their own language? Of course they do, because they don't know the other language. But do you think cats think things in meows?
What?
Well, a cat has a thought, yeah? You know when we have a thought in our head? You know when we have a thought in our head, yeah? The thought is in
your head.
No, but if I'm thinking something, I would think, "Oh, I wonder what it would be like to do that." And that's all in English, all in my language, isn't it? I don't sort of have the thought in like anything else. It's in English, yeah? But do you think a cat goes, "Meow, meow, 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 meow"?
Yeah, but a thought is a thought, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's
just there.
It manifests itself.
It's just there.
Yeah, but it manifests itself in a language, doesn't it? It's like you don't go... When I sit there thinking, like, so if I'm thinking now, I can feel the language. I can hear myself in my mind's eye, speaking in my voice, going, "Oh, I wondered what would happen if I talked bollocks on the podcast," for instance. So if you're an animal and you have a thought, because animals must think things, it can't all be instinct. They must ponder. Cat must ponder. It must go think, "Shall I jump up onto that wall or shall I go and have some milk?" You know, does it go meow, 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 meow?
Is this actually staying in the Pubcast this week?
Yeah.
Because I'm not being funny. We have cut so much shit out, and if this stays in, this is like, oh, really?
all these people last week that paid us money to watch this, and they got to listen
talking about
to this.
A cat.
They want a
thinking
refund.
in meows.
No, but we've
already done them a public service of steering them towards F7.1. So
exactly.
And
we've had the highbrow conversations already about photography. We've gone through that bit. So now we can. I mean, and this is coming from you, Daz, who's like penis for a hand, foot for a vagina. It's like, it's like, what low must I be reaching if you're going, "Oh, I don't know why you said that."
Exactly, mate.
Well, I won't mention that anymore. We'll move on. But have you got any particular terms that annoy you?
Yes.
Like the lonely tree.
How long have you got?
Go on, Dave.
Well, you all know that I have a real
Adventure.
problem with
He hates
photography adventures.
Yeah, he hates adventure.
So there's that. Well, I'll just leave that. That's all I need.
Is that it?
I like to get it off my chest about once a year.
Yeah. Do you know what else I hate? Awesome. When people go, "Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome."
Yeah,
Oh,
but you
that's
see, awesome these
What is
days,
aw-
awesome isn't awesome enough because you have to prefix it with super.
Super awesome. But what is awesome? I mean, I tell you what's awesome. Yeah, the Grand Canyon is awesome. That's all. The Grand Canyon is
Suit you, sir.
Yeah. Does she, sir? Oh, is it deep, sir? No, but you know. No, but you know, the Grand Canyon is awesome, right? Or I would imagine the view of the Earth from the moon is awesome. Yeah. My chicken burger, that's not awesome. A new pair of trainers, that's not awesome. They're just a new pair of trainers. You might go, "Oh, that's nice." You don't go, "Oh, they're awesome." What do you see them and go? I have to take a minute. I've got to have a minute to take in the beauty of these trainers. No, so stop saying they're awesome. I can't stand that word. Anyway,
They could be sick.
sick. That's another one. Sick.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Good.
I think you've
Things
got
are
to be a
sick.
certain age though to use that word, haven't you?
What, sick?
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't.
I used to use it
We
all the
won't
time.
use
I
it,
used to say, "I
no.
can't come in today. I'm sick." Literally once a week.
Yeah. Oh, that's fat. Can't get away with that.
Oh, I've heard that a lot. No, photography terms, though. Are there any photography terms that annoy you guys?
Foreground interest. is
I have a problem with capture.
Capture. Well, yeah, but do you know there's a bit of there's snobbery around saying picture, isn't there? If you say I've taken a picture, people go, "Have you?" If you say I've taken an image, I've got a capture here. It sounds better. It sounds posher rather than I've taken a picture or a photo. Look at my picture. You go, "Oh, look at my image."
I like to call a
My
spade
frame.
a spade.
I've got one that I might have used actually in the past, but now I'm thinking back how cringy it sounds. And a certain woodland photographer uses it a lot, and it's understory in a woodland. You know, I know what they're trying to say, but it's like the understory, which is describing like the bracken and the ferns and everything underneath the trees. It's the understory.
Understory, Jamie.
Understory, yeah.
I've never
Understory,
heard
yeah.
that before. I've never heard
You never
that
heard it before?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I've
I think it's a little bit pretentious. Understory. Just describe it as the forest floor. That's what it is. The base of the trees. It's not the understory.
It's not even something that I've ever heard anybody else ever use that word.
I've never heard that expression.
No,
That's new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hear it from now on, I'll be irritated on your behalf, Jamie. Of
Thank
course.
you.
Yeah,
as
me
a
too.
friend.
Absolutely.
Me too.
Should just start saying subtext instead.
Ooh.
Well, that would work.
Yeah. It's kind of the same synonym.
So for instance, how else could you use that word? I'm thinking, how else could you use understory? So I could say,
Well, it's not a real word, is it? I mean,
No,
it
but
doesn't exist.
let's
You
say
ask Susie Dent. Get on
No,
the
but-
blower to Susie Dent. Say understory. What does that mean? She'd go, "Well, I don't know. Never heard of
let's
it."
say I'm at the counter and I say, "I'll have a Big Mac, please, with an understory of fries." That would work, wouldn't it? But
it's like going into the video stores that used to be in the olden days, and you'd say, right, you know, I don't want those ones on there. I want the videos on your understory, please, because they're the special videos that you hide underneath. You know, your understory videos.
The pixelated
Debbie Does
ones.
Dallas and that sort of thing.
Debbie Does Dallas.
Oh, it
Everybody,
takes me back.
how come whenever you mention like anything like that, Debbie Does Dallas, everyone goes, "Oh yeah, Debbie Does Dallas."
Yeah, because that was the only way back in the 80s you got to watch that sort of thing, is to pop into Blockbuster and say what you got in your understories.
Exactly.
I used to go and find the local hedgerow. That always worked for me. Why was it that pornographic magazines were always in hedgerows? They were always in hedgerows. If you go to a hedgerow, you're almost like duty bound to find a pornographic magazine
But
in a
that's where they
hedgerow.
grow.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
You always find them in the bush.
Hey, bit prickly.
Imagine videoing that and saying, "Oh, look at the understory on that." And for all you cats out there wondering, meow meow, meow, meow.
You see, when you were saying that, I envisaged a herd of cows going moo, moo, moo. And it would be, what they're saying is, see that beardy twat over there? Let's trample him. Let's go and turn over his tripod.
Seriously, can you keep your voice down, please, Dave? You're scaring Daz. Oh dear. I'm out now. Go on.
I've got a TV recommendation. We're going to do this each time somebody sees something on TV. Yeah, just watched the second series of Kin. Have you seen that on ITV Player or whatever it is? It's
No.
BBC. It's on ITV. Sorry, not ITV. BBC iPlayer. Get it right, Jamie. BBC iPlayer. Kin it is. It's really good. It's about a Dublin drugs war gang. So there's like two families in well, actually, I'm assuming it's Dublin. It's certainly in Southern Ireland anyway. Well, what I mean is, it never actually say they're in
Did
Dublin.
you actually
but anyway.
watch it?
I did.
Have you seen this?
Is that the
It's
Michael
really
Sheen
good,
one?
honestly.
Don't
No.
ask
Directed
Jamie
by-
that.
There's one which was directed
No,
by
no,
yes,
Michael
might be.
Sheen.
yes, wait, no.
I know about something else.
You're
I don't know,
thinking
it's
of
directed
Kinel.
No, it's
Daz
about
will
the
tell us.
It's about the Kinselers. The family is the Kinselers. They're a family of drug barons, and yeah, it's really really cool. It's not for kids to watch. There's a lot of shall we say F's and C's in it, and there's a lot of carnage in it when it comes to shooting people at short distances and blowing their heads off and stuff. But it's
Short
it's
notice.
pretty in short notice. Yeah.
Sorry I didn't give you any warning, mate, but I'm going to have to take your head off.
But yeah, no, it's good. 2 series. Just
It'd be like-
just finished the second series.
I've had enough of you. But you could have given him warning. Come on, you could have given him 2 weeks' notice. Oh, dear. Oh, thanks for that.
No, no worries.
I'm still watching The Last Kingdom. I think I'm on to season
1927. Oh dear.
It's telling me. I don't know why it's telling me the time. It's not a year. It's a time. No, I'm still watching The Last Kingdom. I think I'm on season 3 now or 4. It's good. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. I'm taking my time. I'm going through it. It's really good. It's kind of rinse and repeat. It's kind of like Vikings attack, man repels Vikings, man does something else. Start of next season, Vikings attack, man repels Vikings. But it's good. It's an enjoyable little Viking tale. So yeah, and it's totally historically accurate, except for the main character who's totally not historically accurate. And I imagine most of it isn't historically accurate, but the things that happen, the events are historically accurate, not the story behind it, I'd imagine. Not that I know, because I wasn't there.
And it wasn't set in 1927.
Not 1927, no. Daz, have you got any television recommendations?
Yeah, it's a program. Well, there's a couple actually, but there's one that sprung to mind. I think it's called Back to Life, and it's only two series, but that's very good. It's I think it was BBC, but it's now on Netflix. But that's kind of like it's a comedy, but it's not a constant comedy. There's a good storyline to it, but it's got very comical moments actually, and I'd really recommend that. It's got some great lines in that Back to Life, and also Harlan Coben. Now Netflix, I think, have bought. I think they've kind of adapted. I think 4 or 5 of his books and turned it into series. And at the moment, there's about 5 of his series on Netflix. And if you like any one particular series, then I'm sure you'll like all the others. There's a couple actually that have like been dubbed because I think they were set in Poland or something like that. I couldn't get on with them, but the other four that I watched, they were very good.
I've watched
I did
those.
like them.
Is it one
you?
safe? Isn't it? And
Safe,
deceived.
yeah.
Safe.
Deceived.
Behind
another
Her
one.
Eyes, was that another one?
Yeah,
Stranger.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, they are good.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, is the Stranger? Is that the one with the woman who goes missing? And and someone turns up saying they're someone's daughter, or is that a different Stranger?
I think it might be different.
Yeah.
The Stranger is someone who turns up and tells like a secret or something to that person.
Yeah,
and there's a bit of a storyline to that, and then that same person rocks up to another person, and I think explain.
Has it got thingy in it?
You might be thinking
Has
of
it got,
Missing Guy?
No. There's one called The Stranger, and it's got Jennifer Saunders in it.
Yes,
yeah.
Well,
I really enjoyed that.
I can't remember if that's called The Stranger, but that's one of the Harlem Coburn series.
That was brilliant. That was really good.
That's what I'm saying. They're really good. Once you get into them, they're very good.
They are good.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's good
okay.
Yeah.
If you're talking comedies, I can recommend a comedy on Netflix, and I love it, and I've watched it about 3 times now, called The Good Place.
Brilliant. Yes, seen it.
Brilliant, funny, brilliant. And
Forking shirt balls.
Yeah, exactly. Forking shirt balls. Brilliant. It's so it's really funny but really clever. Very clever. Yeah. Recommend it. Thoroughly recommend it. Especially season 1. Anyway, that was a lovely chat. Thank you for that, Jamie. I really enjoyed that little chat about television, and I hope you did too. Not you, Jamie. I mean you out there.
Well, there's just one left, is there?
I don't think there's many left. I think we're having it. It's been. I mean, we've cut probably 3/4.
I mean, this is like the death of the Pubcast tonight, isn't it? It's just tailing off like somebody's share price, a dodgy IPO.
We should consider this to be like for when someone wanted us to do a kind of Pubcast extras bit for Patreons. This is what it would be. So we're now just going to give it to people for free and make them realise why we don't want to do a Patreon. So.
I want to personally take responsibility for this because...
So you should.
No, because there's a reason for this, isn't there? There's a reason for this. It's because we were ill prepared because it might not have happened tonight. We weren't sure if we were going to do one or not. Then I realised I was without beer very late on, so I hadn't prepared any questions or any comments. And this is what happens, you see.
Well, what you need to do is redo the intro and say, hello and welcome to the Pubcast. This season 4, episode 10 and a half.
We could do. We're on 13 now. Do you know we normally finish at
13?
We normally finish at about 16. We only normally do, so we haven't got that many more.
Well, we're running out of material, aren't we? You can tell.
Yeah.
But they always run better, don't they? Don't you think, when we're not prepared? You know, when we are scripted, it's a little bit
this
scripted. Yeah, exactly. I think you'll find in the comments, and, you know, we'll be judged by them, of course, as we always are. But I think you'll find in the comments...
Talking of scripted, has anyone ever tried using an auto cue for any piece to camera stuff? Just out of interest.
No.
I tried it and I realised I was doing what every other person does that tries with auto cue. You sat there and you think, I'm looking straight down the barrel of the lens. But the problem is your eyes are doing this while you're reading it. And you just look like a total muppet. You cannot get away with it. Doesn't work.
Dave, I don't know I don't know about you, but everything I do comes from my heart.
Yeah, so does mine. As long as I've typed it out first.
I couldn't possibly auto cue it because then.
Well, you can tell.
I know you can. You can certainly tell in the last one because I did a whole bit. Honestly, this is the level of my professionalism. I went out and filmed a whole bit, and I got to the very end of it, and I went, in fact, something not supposed to be. In fact, this is where I was. Blah 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 blah. And I actually went, in fact, I was just the other day, and I just thought, "Fuck it, that'll do. I'm leaving that in." I just thought that'll be the cut. And so when you watch my latest video, there's a whole bit, and then there's a bit where it goes, "This is where it was, where it was," and I didn't lose. And anyway, why don't we check it out? And I just thought, I can't be bothered
noticed.
to do that again. Yeah. Did you notice
I
that?
did.
I
I did
just thought,
notice. Yeah.
I can't be
I thought
bothered
you
to do
amateur.
that. Yeah. I thought, I'm not
When
doing
did
that whole
that come
bit
out?
again.
Have I seen that one?
It's come out
Everyday
today.
landscapes.
Come out to everyday,
Everyday
landscapes.
landscapes.
Really?
Link in the description below.
I didn't tickle your bell end. I meant to.
That came out today. So yeah, that's the first one. So yeah,
Everyday Landscapes is live.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
it's not, Dave, because it's still on my channel. Because as I explained in my previous video, I haven't got enough money. Do you know how much they want to charge for more than one channel on Epidemic Sound? It's like £39 a month, and that's if you pay it in one big. Yeah, and if you don't, it's like almost 50. If you want to pay it monthly, it's £50 a month. So I was like, do you know what? I'll stick it on my channel. Thanks very much. So it's on my.
Is there an accompanying website?
There is an accompanying website, Dave, which isn't finished yet, so I wasn't going to mention it. It's at www.everydaylandscapes.co.uk if you're interested. Except
It was just a guess. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? Yeah, but it's not actually finished yet. So if you want to see the unfinished,
Nice
version,
logo, by the way.
go and have a look. Thank you very much. I did that on on Canva.
Nice logo.
I was
Did you?
thinking about taking the website down for a laugh, and I noticed the logo and thought, that's brilliant. I'll leave it up.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Well, I haven't caused you any trouble or stolen any anyone else's photos or anything, Dave. We're not talking about that though. So
That'll be enough to get us sued.
Absolutely. No camera clubs were hurt in the filming of this video. Anyway, moving on. Daz, you've got a topic, haven't you? Please save us from this, Daz. You must have something.
I think we all talk about kind of gas, if you like, and all the new cameras coming out and all this kind of stuff. And I started thinking, we was happy with our camera kind of like 10 years ago, and then obviously, new things come out, and then you want to get the new camera with the latest this and the later that and the bigger this. But I was thinking, if you was to downgrade, let's say go back to downgrading, and I know it's all going to be specific to what you shoot, landscape, street, wildlife, for example. But if you started thinking like Benjamin Button and actually kind of working backwards, what would be like the lowest grade camera that you would just be really happy to shoot with? So like if you're not following this, I'll kind of give you an example. I mean, I bought the Sony A1, but I bought that purely for wildlife. Now, if I didn't shoot wildlife, there's no way I would have bought that camera. I love that camera. I'm really pleased with it. But the one that I had before was the Sony A7R3 at 42 megapixels. And that was a great camera. That done everything that I needed it to do. And then obviously you'll have other cameras with, let's say, 24 megapixels or something like that. So what I'm saying is, if you was to work backwards, what would be the lowest grade camera that you would be happy to take out every day and shoot your style of photography?
Well, I'll start because you did well there, Daz, because I do my camera, and the current camera is the Sony A7R3. So I was thinking, where's he going with that? I previously had, obviously, a Canon 5D Mark III. Weirdly enough, I was just saying this yesterday. I would love to have my 5D Mark III back. I would love it. The biggest mistake I ever made was selling my Canon lenses. I wish I'd never sold them. I only sold them on a mistake because I thought that they were not working properly with my camera when actually it was the camera that was at fault. But I love that camera, and equally for street, I had a Sony A6000, and I loved it. It's a great little camera for street, really compact, really small. Obviously, it's a crop sensor, but I love my Sony. I love my A7R3, but I could easily go back. Can I say not go back? Can I say have as well? Can I have the others as well, so I can still go out with them?
It's not. No, it's so the question is, if you can only have one camera and you had to drop down in specs, what would be like the lowest spec that you would be comfortable shooting?
My 5D3, I think, the old 5D3, because I did have
which
before
was
that
24 megapixels.
24 megapixels. Before that, I had a 70D, and before that, I had a Rebel T3i, which I think is a 550D, and they were not good. They were okay, but in suboptimal conditions, you really notice the difference. But the point is as well, though, it's not just the cameras; it's the lenses. Lenses are there was a guy once, I can't remember exactly who it was, but he said, spend a third of your money on the camera and the 2/3 on decent lenses, and you won't go wrong. And I think lenses are probably more important than the camera bodies, but yeah, 5D Mark III. That's probably, that's it. So when you buy me my birthday present, I'll go back to a 5D Mark III. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Well, probably a good point for me to jump in there as well, because I would be exactly the same. 5D Mark III, but then that's because that is my 5D Mark III right there. And I still use it. And I still use it perfectly happily. I mean, I have the R5, obviously, which is the camera of choice. But if both Hannah and I are out together, particularly if we're doing wildlife, I'll still use a 5D3. She'll have the R5 because wildlife is her thing. It's kind of a priority, but I'll be there for a 5D3. And I will take landscape photos on that. Often when I go hiking up mountains, I worry a bit about taking the R5. So I take the 5D3, and it does it still does a brilliant job. I'm still perfectly happy with the images that come out of it. And it's the same lenses that I use because I use EF glass for both. I actually still have, if that there is my 5D Mark II, which I still have because I'm basically useless at selling stuff. I never sell stuff, which I probably should do. But the 5D2 I keep because I have plans to use it for camera traps, so that's why it's still there. And the 5D2 I think is probably a step too far. It definitely feels aged these days when I'm using it, and I do notice certainly it's no good for wildlife. But yeah, the 5D3 is I've got a feeling in multiple years down the line, I reckon 5D3 will be a bit of a classic.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Well, I'll jump in on that and continue the theme of the Canon fanboy piece, because mine would be the 5D4 that I had, because I didn't have the 3, I had the 4, and I absolutely adored that camera. Paired with my 70-200, that to me, that if I remember rightly, those sort of pictures that I took on that camera were just, I loved it. And you're thinking back, and you're right to sort of reflect on it. We've all moved to mirrorless, but what real benefit have we got for mirrorless? Apart from, I get Dave's argument with mirrorless in terms of the lightness, and if you're hiking up fells and mountains and you want to reduce the weight in your camera bag, then there's an argument to sort of move to the mirrorless. But in terms of image quality, for somebody like me that doesn't hike up mountains and just wanders through woodlands, that 5D Mark IV is perfectly capable. In fact, it's equally as good as probably what I'm shooting now. But I've invested all new money and gone through that process of upgrading, shall we say, to something that I'd be more than happy to go back to the 5D4 and probably have exactly the same experience in the field. It is interesting why we sort of jump on that bandwagon of investment and upgrade when really we haven't really upgraded too much. Yeah, we've got a bit more tech, we've got a bit more, a few buttons to do a few more things, and maybe it can do things that the other one doesn't. But when you come down to the raw, what we need the camera for, it's to produce high quality images that we feel comfortable with, and those cameras do.
Saying that, the 5D3 was a brilliant wildlife lens camera, but I'm not sure it was a particularly good brilliant landscape camera.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure it was a particularly good wildlife camera or street camera.
That's what I'm saying. You have to kind of in your particular kind of field,
because it was a big old beast, and I'm
with you guys. I had the not Jamie, but with you go. I had the Mark III, and Jamie had the Mark IV, and obviously Sam's got the Mark III and II. And they were fantastic cameras, and I think everyone would agree, who's ever owned one of those cameras, how comfortable they feel in the hand as well, how much faith I had in that camera. I'm not saying that I dropped it or anything, but it just felt that it was solid. If I had to drop my Sony or my Canon at the same height together, I know which one I'd put my money on to survive, and that would be the Canon all day long.
Yeah.
Dave?
It's been very interesting listening to you all, because I ask myself, well, why don't you off all of your expensive gear and go back to these cameras that you could probably pick up now for tuppence halfpenny?
Because it wouldn't give me that capability for the wildlife. And I say that's the only
yeah.
reason I upgraded. If it
No,
wasn't for
but
the
then,
wildlife,
but in terms of what the premise of the question, the answer would then be that you wouldn't go back because you shoot wildlife. Therefore, an older camera wouldn't cut it. That's why you upgraded. So, you know, it's all very well waxing lyrical and being nostalgic about a camera that you've got very fond memories of, that you had some fabulous days out with. But realistically, you've upgraded, and therefore you're happy with that upgrade. So you wouldn't genuinely go back. And
no,
my
I'm
answer
not. I'm
to
not saying you would go back. That wasn't the point. Jamie made the point to saying that realistically, his upgrade isn't a huge leap. So the question was, if you had to go back. I mean, I can only speak now because I can't really speak on a load of different wildlife cameras that I've owned, because I haven't owned them. But if it was landscape, I think I could quite easily go back to my Canon 24 megapixel.
yeah.
Because
Okay.
if you were shooting a pano, you could still stitch that together.
I mean,
sorry.
In answer to the question, then my answer would be I wouldn't go back from what I've got at the moment. But interestingly, what I've got at the moment isn't the latest version. So I'm 100% happy with my OM1, and I've only got 20 megapixels in that. But I wouldn't upgrade, but I wouldn't go backwards either. And so I'm kind of at that sweet spot, and I could see myself living with this camera for quite a long time. All of that said, there's two other things I'd just like to say. First off, a word that Jamie used. We were talking earlier about what words irritate us. Sorry, Jamie. That word investment, it's not an investment, it's an expenditure. It's an investment requires a return. You just spent your money. You've spunked it. It's only an investment
in my
if
enjoyment.
it's going to pay for itself in some way or other. But people use that word a lot, and that's one of my anyway. But actually, the whole conversation has sparked an idea that I thought, actually, do you know what? When I started with digital, originally it was a 5 megapixel Sony Cybershot, but I bought it for business purposes. I bought 20 of them to dish out to various people that work for me. And I grabbed one out of the office every now and then to take away and do some photography with. But when I decided, I'm going to get back into photography, I bought a Nikon D80, which I could pick up now for about 40 quid. And I could probably pick up the kit lens 16 to 55, something like that. And it's, I think, a 10 megapixel camera. Do you know what? I might just go and buy one of them on eBay and see what I can do with it, knowing what I know now. Because when I first got it, I was total shit. Whereas now I think, actually, with 10 megapixels, I might be able to do something. So I'm going to do it. Thank you, folks, for the idea. I'm going to go buy the camera that I bought in 2009, 10, something like that, and revisit it and take it out into the hills and see what the hell it can do.
Well,
now.
It's funny you should say that, because that gave me an idea. I've just gone into my cupboard and I've got this, right, which is a Canon 700D, which is it's not mine, it's my daughter's. My father-in-law gave it to my daughter some time ago, and it's got an 18 to 55 kit lens on it, and it'll be quite interesting to see how badly I can use that. But going back to your point, Dave, I'm struggling. I'll be honest with you. I'm struggling. Other than the megapixels, I'm struggling to think of a reason why, if I went back to having my 5D3 and my Sony A6000, what I would miss about my A7R3. I'm struggling. Other than the megapixels, obviously, because 42 megapixels is a big difference from, I think it's 21 and 23 or something. But
well, I tell you, in the 20 megapixel club, I'm more than happy.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys get to see my photography, and whilst there clearly is a quality difference, I'm not trying to pretend there isn't. But in terms of what I'm trying to achieve, it does the job. And, you know, we've all been out together and you lot are all sweating and puffing before we've left the car park.
That's nothing to do with the weight of the cameras, Dave. Let's be honest.
Did you watch the camera conspiracies video a little while ago on the OM? The lens, what lens is it? The 150 to 600 that came out.
Yeah.
Why did they make it so heavy?
Who knows? It's not
a
on my
brick.
shopping list.
Exactly. He actually put all the weights down, didn't he, with the equivalent of Sony, and that was coming out heavier.
But this
than
week,
all of the other full frame cameras.
This week, I acquired the 100 to 400, but this is the Lumix Leica, and it's a pretty chunky lens. But when you consider that this is a full frame equivalent of 200 to 800,
yeah.
And I bought it for the wildlife around the lake here and pretty much nothing else. There's no way this is ever going to get lugged up a mountain. But I, as Gary knows, because he's visited me quite a few times, I do a bit of wildlife bird photography around here. And it's about the size and weight of a standard, say, Canon 70 to 200 f4. And yeah, it's a pretty decent focal length. But no, you're absolutely right, Daz. That's I can't understand that. I can't understand the market for it because the whole point of Micro Four Thirds is size and weight.
To be light,
Yeah, and the minute it isn't anymore, you totally undermine the whole purpose of the system.
I did watch the camera conspiracies video where he apologised. Did you see that? About Tony Northrop and that. I cannot believe that Tony Northrop has banned the word Tony on his comments.
I want one of his T-shirts with Tony blurred across.
I love that. It's so. I mean, that's
brilliant.
I would love to have the balls to do that about the photographers on YouTube. I'd love to have the balls to take the piss out of them. If I could do a video.
But why is it then that you cut out all of the best bits of the Pubcast? Just asking for a friend.
Don't have the balls.
But I do think that camera conspiracies, it's not done in a malicious or vindictive way. It is done very tongue-in-cheek and it is very funny, actually.
Yeah, but he's still got his card marked by Tony.
Oh yeah, but I think he's a bit of a princess, possibly, isn't he? You know, with his brand and all the rest of it. So he's very straight-laced. So,
well, thank you for that, Daz. That topic you've brought us back into.
You saved us, mate. You are the Messiah.
Yeah, the more highbrow realms of photography podcast.
That's how bad this episode's been when I have to rescue.
There you go. There's the title for this one, Gary. Life of Dazza.
Yeah. Or that's how bad this episode's been when I have to bring it back.
Yeah.
So so I think with that, I think we probably scraped about 25 minutes of conversation out of this hour and 56 discussion. I want to say thanks very much for watching. I've got a few things to say before we go. F7.1, let's get in touch and we'll make that big.
Well, we're making the assumption that they're interested. They might turn around and say, "We don't want to be associated with you, shower shit."
They're also interested. They love us as much as we love them. They love us. The second thing I want to say is just to all of you, right? This is to every single one of you that's watching or listening. Next time you go off and have a thought, just think. Is it in my language? Am I speaking that thought in my head? Because seriously, because when we had a break and I went for a wee, I did the little experiment and the thought in my head was in my voice. It was in my voice. So now have a little think now, right? Let's have a silent moment. Have a little think now. Let's all think something. But
I'm thinking Gary's having a piss, and that's not good.
Just have a thought. Yep, see, it's in my voice. So cats may think in meows.
Mine was in Welsh.
By the way. Exactly, but there you go. You see, it wasn't just a random moment of consciousness. You were actually thinking in a language.
I've got to say, a bloke rang me up this week to ask about the fishing on the lake, and he opened up in Welsh. and I held a conversation with him. And at the end of it, I put the phone down. I was like, oh my God, I actually had a conversation with somebody entirely in Welsh. I mean, I didn't learn Welsh as a kid. It's all like, you know, I did a course and all that. Never done that before. I was quite chuffed with myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
It was very
well done.
basic.
Should be.
It was
done.
very, very basic.
And
like
you-
the
and you-
mouse is under the table, I said.
And you didn't think to put this in the "What have I done this week" section, Dave. I'm very disappointed. That's a major thing you could have added in.
Well, you could just cut that bit and slide it to the front of the video, couldn't you?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're the expert, mate.
I'm going to cut the next bit and slide it to the front of the video. Thanks very much for watching. We really hope you've enjoyed this week. That's the bit that's going at the front now because everything else is going to get cut. Please keep your comments coming in. We really enjoy them. And if you've got any questions, because we don't have many questions in the comments this week, which was, you know, a bit disappointing. So, you know,
I think
drop
you
us
find
in-
we had quite a few, but you couldn't find them.
probably
Yeah.
drop us some questions if you've got anything to ask us. And I can't think of anything else. I think that's good. I think we've
thank
covered
God for
everything, haven't we? Yeah. So
We'll say goodbye then.
yeah,
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
Goodbye then.
Thanks for. Oh, by the way,
Oh,
me and Jamie are going to Holmfell
Oh.
this morning, which you would have
Go to
missed.
Holmfell. Yeah, we are.
Oh no, we're not going to Holmfell.
We go to Holmfell if you want. I won't be
No,
there.
we're going to. Me and Jamie are going to Holmfen this morning, which you would have missed. So if you want to come along,
Hopefully there
feel
is some.
free to come along this morning, which you would have missed. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next week, possibly, unless the podcast has ended here. Goodbye.
see you
See
guys.
ya.
Bye bye.
Meow.